Welcome to Mornings with Matt, personal and professional development training that connects the art of acting with critical life skills and self-mastery. Presented by the Deering Acting Studio.
Alrighty, good morning everybody and welcome to Mornings with Matt. Today we're going to talk about saying, I'm sorry.
I feel like there was I just let it die for a second there.
What'd you let die?
Well, you were like, you set me up with a perfect softball to do something, and I just sat here.
Actually, no, I wasn't.
Oh, well,
But thanks for picking it. I was actually taking this thought to go, okay, the next thing you say needs to be epic. So I was taking a breath, and I was zenning myself down. You know what else I'm working on? I should say sorry to our audience here. I am sorry for all the times that I say, Oh my gosh. I listened to a show recently back and heard how many times I said, And the energy didn't get better on the show until the second half. You remember this, the last show that we listened to on our way to
Yeah.
And so I realized when the show was humming, when I was feeling it, I said, maybe.
When the show was humming, Matt wasn't umming.
Oh, there we go.
I'll take it.
Joey hits it out of the park. The crowd goes wild. I love it. So I'm sorry for all the times that I've said, And I mean it sincerely. I really am sorry. We are live on this show. That's an interesting thing, to go live. If you've never done it, I recommend trying to go live a couple times, even if you do it on social media, wherever. It's scary to be live. It's funny. People change when a camera is in their face. I give this example a lot. You're around the dinner table. You're having a great time. You're super funny. You're telling jokes. Everybody's laughing. You feel great. And then somebody pulls out a phone and starts recording you, and immediately you change. It's like,
oh, so
camera,
true.
right?
Yes.
That feeling that we get right there of what it is it's you are now exposed. And what you say can and will be held against you in a court of the internet.
Which is a huge court.
It surely is. I just lowered myself with my leg.
And my framing's bad.
So that change that happens, that's what you and I train people not to do.
Yeah.
Is to have that feeling when a camera's in their face and realize that nothing has actually changed other than a piece of metal is now being held near you. That's really all it is.
That's true.
In reality.
Yeah. I used to be like the king of this in high school. I would never let anybody record me. Ever. And it was so funny because, like, I did do, like, drama and stuff, and people thought I was outgoing or saw me as outgoing, but you're absolutely right. The second a camera got in my face or somebody tried to take a picture of me with their phone, and I didn't know it, like, I would get so mad.
Well, I actually do think that that's really rude to record somebody when they don't know you're recording.
Sure.
And take your photo out of context.
Yeah.
Because of context.
Sure.
It's possible that you could be telling the second half of a joke, and without context, that joke could be
real
horrific.
Bad.
So I actually get that. I think that people should not record other people without their permission.
Sure. Smart.
But the concept is the same. And I can tell you that when we first started the show, because we now go live daily, used to be 7 days a week. As of last week, we started taking Sundays off.
Which is beautiful.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's a number one thing.
And so now it's 6 days a week of going live, and I've gotten used to it.
Yeah.
Sort of. But I can tell you, I was legitimately terrified the first 3 weeks of this show.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I was too.
Heart's pounding, and I'm going, this is live. There's no do-overs. Whatever you say is out there forever.
And even if you go back and take it down, which we haven't, but if you did, then like if somebody hopped on there, they already heard it. So it's like, what?
Right.
There's no hiding.
If somebody recorded it, if so, it's out there.
Someone could watch this show and then tweet, "Can't believe Matt said 187 times during the show."
Can't believe Matt lowered his chair with his leg halfway through the show.
I wish we had tweeters who would send us mean tweets. It'd be so funny.
You have to earn the mean tweets.
Yeah.
That's what I've realized. My wife has seen a modicum of success. Modicum. What a word.
I hate this applause sound effect. I'm gonna stop using my applause.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You know what you need is a new applause that comes in quicker, as we know, and a little bit of practice.
Yeah. Yeah, you said that on the last show.
I also think that the Roadcaster, oh, by the way, the Roadcaster has a new software update.
Oh, yes, I saw that.
It's
got
like
the
a big
email.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it.
Hopefully it'll give us a like digital soundboard attachment where
I don't think it has that.
Why?
I don't know.
I tried to look for a sound pad on their website.
I did too.
Nux.
Nux is right.
Nux.
Yeah. Because I was going, how cool would that be? It really would be cool, especially if you had one, I had one, and we could be doing it together. I mean, that'd be a blast.
I would prefer it if all the pressure wasn't on me.
I bet.
Sound effects.
Yeah, I bet.
But yeah.
And because half the time if you're listening really, really well, it's hard to be talking and doing that other thing at the same time. Almost impossible, really.
100%.
Okay, so we got to say I'm sorry. That's what this episode is all about. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is because I don't believe that people understand how powerful the words I'm sorry are. When you say I'm sorry, what it should be is a relationship repairer. It should be a relationship healer. The issue with the I'm sorry that usually comes out is sometimes it never comes unless it's been fished out. And if you have to ask for an I'm sorry, it doesn't count. So if somebody says, you really need to apologize, and then you apologize, it sort of just doesn't count.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I mean, it counts. I guess it counts, but just understand that you definitely lose your power as the giver of the apology.
Yeah.
But let's go into that word giver. If you are giving an apology, you should be trying to give something to the other person. You are trying to give them the feeling that you acknowledge what you've done, you acknowledge that there's some mistake in some way, and you want to make the relationship right. If you are apologizing as a taker, if you're apologizing in such a way that you're trying to figure out what you can get, for instance, if I'm apologizing because I'm trying to get forgiveness,
yeah,
I'm doing it wrong.
100%. I got a cool analogy here. You can't
Dude,
apologize.
hit it. I love analogies. Okay, hold on. Hit me. See, if I had it, I would be like...
And it would have been good.
Okay.
It now just sounds like a platypus.
That's it. We're adding the platypus sound effect because I thought it was great.
I was going to say, I didn't mean to say analogy either, unfortunately. I was just going to say that you can't apologize to win. So that's something that I've had to overcome quite a bit since working here, since getting your coaching.
Well, and because that's your thing. Competition and winning is your thing.
Yeah, for sure. So I like to put it in that way because it's definitely something where I can look back to even a couple weeks ago or something where I get into a fight and then I'm like, he's right, but I want to win. And it's like, no, you just got to drop your pride. You got to take a deep breath, What helps me a lot of the time is recognizing that the person loves me. So when that's the case, I'm like, okay, whatever got me upset in the first place, I'm probably misunderstanding the situation or overplaying the situation, or I did something to set up the situation.
Yeah.
And any of those three things could have happened, but those are the most likely outcomes when you're talking to somebody you love and you have a little bit of a disagreement. So
Yeah. Very wise words, Joseph.
thanks. I learned them from Yoda himself, Matthew Deering.
Well, yes. To start from love, what an amazing concept, and how important to go to the place of, I know this person loves me deep down because I know that their center is love. I don't even care if they're your enemy. I know that that eventually, deep down inside, their core is love. And they may not be getting love in their life. They may be lacking love in some way. And so whatever the offense is, it's some form of them trying to seek out and find love in their lives. So let me approach them from love. That's a really good concept. I did this thing I wanted to talk about on today's show because it makes sense.
I almost did the Perry the Platypus.
Platypus. Here's what I did. I went on a forgiveness campaign.
Oh, yes, I love this story. It's the best story. It's the number one story.
When I started writing the best listener in the room, I realized that everything needed to come from, like, I'm sorry had to be a big part of where I began to write from, because the concepts were so big that I realized that I was nowhere near who I needed to be to write the book. And so I needed to start off by saying, I'm sorry. I had to acknowledge that I am not worthy to be writing this book. And only from there can I actually write this book. So I decided to go back and see all the people that I was holding on to some sort of a grudge that I felt had really wronged me in some way. And I had been through a few because I'd been in business. And to have a business relationship and then a business relationship end, it's as messy or more messy than a relationship. Somebody joked one time about the idea. There's the first. Is that the first one?
I think it is.
Hey,
you see what happens when you focus on?
Yes,
I know. I said I wouldn't hit the applause again until I get a better one.
You're right. You did say that.
So
I felt like these people had. I know I ended in the middle of a thought there, but I didn't really want to go back to it. I decided, so I apologize for that.
Hey,
and now should I go back or not? I don't feel like I should.
You know what? Trust your gut. We are live. We talked about it.
Oh my gosh, we're live, you guys.
Oh jeez.
Okay, so somebody said this: a business relationship is just like being married without the intimacy that comes with marriage.
I see what you were.
So it's like without all the really, really fun stuff, it's like marriage, which is hard and a lot of work. So I'd been through a few business relationships. We've had a lot of clients come in and out of here, and eventually somebody rubs you the wrong way. You rub somebody else the wrong way. It's human nature. So I had this list of grudges. That's not a good thing.
Just in your little
I'm like, my grudges are number one. No, not like that, but just things that I realized were weighing me down.
Oh, so they weren't like Velcro and you stuck them and you would switch the order of the list.
I wish. That'd be really cool. No, I didn't have that. But I did have this list sort of subconsciously. And I knew that they were there.
Sure.
Just things that didn't end well. And I realized I wanted to release that. I no longer wanted to hold this sort of baggage anymore because it was really holding me back. when I wanted to feel bad about myself, which we do a lot. We want to feel bad about ourselves sometimes, and we can drive ourselves into negativity. And I realized this was something that was a habit of mine. When I would go negative in some way or something bad would happen, then I would drive myself into further negativity by focusing on people who had wronged me or things that I had done wrong or all that stuff. So I went on this deep forgiveness campaign. But what's interesting, in order to do this, I had to say I'm sorry.
Even though you didn't feel like you were in the wrong always.
I felt like I had been wronged. And then I went through the list, and I literally called each person and tried to schedule appointments, or we made phone calls, or I would leave messages or emails. Like, I went all the way to the ends of what I could do so that I could release.
That's awesome.
In order to forgive them, I didn't ask for forgiveness. I mean, I didn't ask for an I'm sorry. I asked for forgiveness.
Yeah.
And I approached it from this way. It was, I want you to know I'd been holding on to some things, and I forgive you completely for anything that you've done. I just wanted you to know that. And I'm sorry sincerely from the bottom of my heart for anything that I did to you, because I'm sure that there are things, I know that there are things that I did that made you feel uneasy. And I'm sincerely sorry for those things. Please forgive me. And dude, I mean, everybody I got a hold of, it was really life-giving. We were just like really cool.
That's cool.
One person was, their perspective was, oh, I let that go a long time ago. And I said, I'm so happy for you that you did. I hadn't. And so you're a better person than I am. And I wanted you to know that now I'm letting it go. And I'm really sorry for not letting it go. Boom. Somebody else was I've been holding on to this too. Thank you. This feels really good. And hey, how are you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, good. How are you? This is good to reconnect. So interestingly, in order to receive something back, I had to give, and give fully, and give without expectation of anything else.
Yeah.
Then we go further into the forgiveness campaign, and I realized I had to forgive me for anything I had done. I had to go back into myself and go, okay, you actually, this whole thing starts with you. You got to love you to the highest level. But in order to forgive me, I had to say I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And mean it. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that's a really, really, really cool, thought. And I think everybody has a place for something like that, especially if they haven't been good with apologizing. I remember when you first told that to me, I actually did the same thing with, people I went to high school with.
Did you?
And, yeah. And it was really cool. I had a lot of the same experience. A lot of people were like, yeah, no, I didn't see that at all. Some people were like, oh, man, it's all good, but, thank you, It's been a long time, so, so it was really cool. Did you get any, I meant to ask you this. Did you apologize on any voicemails?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Did I? No, I did not apologize on a voicemail. I apologized. If I couldn't get a hold of somebody, I apologized via email.
Oh, that's cool.
So it was really well thought out that way, and I could leave something that would be time stamped for myself, and it's like, hey, here you go. And with the email versions, I would always try to call first, then I would follow up with the email. Then if I hadn't heard from them, I would wait a few months, call again, send a second email, same type of deal. And if I've gotten through 2 or 3 emails of the apologizing, then I say to myself, okay, they're not ready to release. I love them anyway. I forgive them completely, but I can release on my end.
I think that is almost harder.
Yeah.
That's cool. I think that's I don't want to say more helpful, but just a lot of the time, especially if the relationship went rotten in the first place, it's really hard to get it back. So it's cool that like time and other things were able to heal you and heal a lot of those people, but the people that can't take it as well and will screen your calls or just like, aren't in the place to receive that, it's still important that you would be able to release it,
Right.
And so that's cool. I think that'll help a lot of people too. Just that idea of do your best to release it with the person, but if the person, for whatever reason, is not allowing you to do so, you can still release it yourself and love them from where they are.
Absolutely. And we don't realize how much we carry. And so when you start to unload some of the baggage, you feel so much lighter. It's incredible. Okay, so I had a few points here that I wrote down. I wanted to go through these. The key principles that we will discuss here today about apologizing. Number 1, be open when receiving critique. Number 2, have a willingness to be wrong. Number 3, approach conflict with humility. Number 4, acknowledge the other person and say, I'm sorry, as soon as possible. Number 5, ask for forgiveness and free yourself of guilt. So the number 5 deal we just sort of talked about was when you ask for forgiveness and you mean it and you're being sincere and you're just saying, forgive me, I have done wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Here's everything I have on the table. I'm not doing this to be forgiven, but I'm asking you humbly for your forgiveness.
Yeah.
That's a different story.
Sure.
If I'm doing it just to get forgiveness because I just want to like move on with my day,
Mm-hmm.
that's different than me saying sincerely I would like forgiveness. And if you mean that, this comes into this idea of restitution. Have you heard that word before?
No.
Well, it's a big topic right now, the idea of restitution, because part of the issues that are going on right now with the social injustice is the idea of at what point have you made restitution? Okay,
Gotcha.
and this is where it gets really hard.
Like made up for whatever.
Made
it
up
is.
for it.
Gotcha.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that is hard.
It's really hard because what's the answer here? Never?
Yeah.
Because it might be never.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's the
That's 2.
Think about this.
We should have a bell for every time you do.
And this is why we need God in our lives. This is why we need the Holy Spirit to come in and intercede, because realistically, some of the things that people do are beyond this world.
Mm-hmm.
And the forgiveness, the power to forgive, has to come from beyond this world.
Yeah.
So a person murders your mom. What can they do as restitution? Because they've now said, I'm sorry. They've begged you for forgiveness. They mean it. They're completely humble. They've changed their lives. They are now a good person. They've been completely restored.
Yeah.
In what way could they give you something back to make it okay, to make it right? And that's a tough question.
I was going to say, I would like to say that I could forgive them, but I don't know.
You
if
could.
I could.
You could,
Yeah.
but only through the power of
God.
That's
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
Only by going there first and saying, there's something here through my forgiveness. We'll be able to use this to serve the Lord. That could possibly be. But those types of injustices are really hard to determine when are we okay.
Yeah.
So that there's a big part of restitution that's involved in the Black Lives Matter movement and in these different ideas of how people used to treat other people and now still do in little minor ways, or maybe a lot of people have gotten over it, but at the same time just a century ago, just a decade ago, things were so much worse and so bad. And at what point do you owe it to somebody else for what your ancestors did?
Yeah. It was interesting because you and I had a conversation, and I was I didn't want to have to deal with the situation. So I was like, you know what? They can do their thing. I'm going to sit over here and do my thing, and then everything will blow over. I was like, I don't want to be involved. But after our conversation, it was interesting because I thought on it a lot. And two of my best friends throughout high school were African American. And I was like, I don't think I ever like talked to them like that. Like had a real heart to heart about where they were at.
Right.
And what they had gone through. Like it was an afterthought. I just never thought about it. We were talking about other stuff that was happening then.
Yeah.
You know. And so I opened up a conversation with both of them, and I apologized for that thing. I was like, hey, I'm sorry because I guarantee at some point I was racist to you. I just said it. I was like, I guarantee I did something, you know, subconsciously, consciously, whatever. Like, even if you have the thought,
yeah,
like that is technically you are doing that thing. And so that was hard to cope with. But once I did that, and then I apologized for my ancestral sins as well and all that they went through, because once I started to see more and more, I was like, man, I'm kind of a bad person for not like acknowledging this. Like, you don't have to necessarily like do everything in your power to like help them right away if that's not where you're at, but you still have to acknowledge that it's true.
Well, you can't go further unless you've really acknowledged the truth.
Yeah.
And that actually comes right back to this first principle is being open to the critique, and number two, having a willingness to be wrong.
And I was not either of those things when we had our conversation.
Correct. Which it's interesting because sometimes I have to just back out. As you know, I did back out eventually from that conversation.
Yeah.
Because you can't help somebody quit smoking that doesn't want to quit smoking.
Uh-huh.
So when you're trying to help somebody, trying to open up their minds, if they're closed for whatever reason, all you can do is give them the thoughts and then let them wrestle with it, which you did. And to your credit, right away had a spin and right away said sorry and right away came in and go, okay, I'm going to get better at this thing.
Yeah.
And I think your issue comes back to what you said initially, which was you wanted to win.
Mm-hmm.
The second you acknowledged I was right in some of these points I was making, you internalized that you were going to be changed, but you didn't want to vocalize it because you didn't want to lose. You saw that as a lose.
Yeah.
And this is the point of today, and the point of saying I'm sorry is I want everyone to understand that saying I'm sorry is a win. Saying I'm sorry gives you power. It is empowering to say I'm sorry.
I had to say I was sorry this morning. I just wanted to say that on the show.
You did. And you know what you did, though? Here's what Joey did. I was getting everything set up by myself. He had slept in. I had woken him up. We hadn't talked yet.
Nope.
So the very first words out of his mouth, he creeps up behind me, starts dancing, hugs me, and says, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. He leaves a bubble water for me on the desk. He doesn't try to stop me from doing what I'm doing. He doesn't try to intercede, doesn't try to make me a drink or run. He just acknowledges that and brings me energy and then lets me do with it what I'm going to do. And then I said, thank you, I believe.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then I said, would you be willing to take over here? And you said yes, and you sat down and took that over.
Yeah.
It's textbook because
sure.
I didn't have animosity toward you, by the way, but if I did, any animosity that I had would be completely released immediately.
Yeah.
Because you humbled yourself down, you were open to anything, and then there was a different set of tension that I was holding on to, and so then I asked you, were you planning on being on the show? Would you like to be on the show? And you said, yeah, I was planning on it. I'd like to be on the show as long as you'll have me.
Mm-hmm.
Which again is humble. That's humility.
Yeah.
And I said, I'd love to have you on the show. I would love that.
I'm really excited you let me be on the show this morning.
It's not dude. I mean, I believe that you belong here. It's an interesting thing. When you have a dynamic going, it's a really good thing, you know?
Yeah.
What I didn't want was to come on air live and have anything weird going on.
Sure.
You know, and if there was something weird between us, that's not ideal.
Yeah.
Unless we're going to deal with it right on the show, huh?
And then it's interesting because we get into these situations, and this is a daily show, so it happens every day. But
and we're figuring this out. This is a daily show, and we are now become TV producers overnight.
And that's a we thing, because it's funny.
Yeah.
Sometimes sometimes the students, thanks to our wonderful staff and like lifting me up, will say I'm the tech guy. But it's so funny because behind the scenes, bro,
I'm the tech guy.
You're the tech guy. I'm like, hey, what you doing over there?
Yeah.
Let me learn that thing so that I can do that for you when you're in front of the microphone. But it's so funny because it really is like a team thing.
100%.
And a lot of people wouldn't know that behind the scenes, like, I'm being taught by MD himself.
Well, this is how I believe leaders should be, though. I don't believe you should be a leader without being willing to do the thing that you're asking somebody else to do.
Yeah.
You at least have to have a base knowledge. So when it comes to this show producing deal, I was hands in there because I knew you didn't know and I didn't know. So you couldn't teach me, because if you could teach me, I would have asked you to teach me.
Yeah,
you couldn't
would have
teach me.
humbled yourself in that way.
That's
instead.
right. But we had to learn it. So because we had to learn it, I got in on the learning process, figured out where every chord goes, understanding how things work, the why behind certain things, and then so that I could do it myself if I needed to, and that we could teach other people. I could teach you competently. But then I know darn well that by you doing it every day, you're going to be better at it than me, and I'm okay with that. I don't need to be the best at it. I just need to understand it. I have to be willing to do it. I also have to understand how hard it is, because it is hard.
Yeah.
Even though if you do it every day, you might make it look easy, but that doesn't mean it is easy.
Yeah.
So
same way, like I look at you sitting at the mic every day preparing for the show and like questioning guests and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know if I could do that. That's really hard, you know. But like you said, it's the daily thing. You're doing it daily now, so it gets better every day.
Right. And by me acknowledging how hard your job is, how easy it isn't, then I can have a sincere appreciation of what you do.
Sure.
I'm not powerless, because I could come in on a day like today and I could get the show up and running myself. It wouldn't be as good. It wouldn't be as efficient.
Mm-hmm.
But I could do it. I know how. I'm competent in that area.
Yeah.
But I can also be sincerely appreciative, really excited about who you are and what you bring to the table, only because I've been in the grind with you.
Sure.
Side by side. And I know also what's been done and hasn't been done, what's been put away properly and what hasn't, what's been set up and what hasn't. The first thing I noticed, bro, was that the microphone stand was fixed.
Yay.
Now, the mic wasn't here. It was over there, so that had to still be set up. I had to figure out chords, etc. Good thing I know how to do that. But I went and found the mic, saw the number one. The mic was fixed, and it was broken yesterday. and so I looked at it, and I was like, oh, cool. And you know what I thought? First thing I thought was, I wonder how he did it, because I looked, and I didn't look like a new bolt to me. So you went and bought a new bolt.
Yeah.
But it's the same color.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so good job.
Thanks.
But I couldn't tell. So then I thought to myself, how did he do that? Because I couldn't fix it. I thought we were going to have to buy a new bolt.
That's funny.
He somehow fixed it without getting a new bolt. And I really thought I did everything. How did he do it? And I was just sincerely curious, grateful.
Yeah.
Curious.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that you did. You went above and beyond. You bought the new bolt. You did what I thought had to be done. Mm-hmm. And then you did it without being asked, which is really cool too.
Yeah. I did it that day too, so I wouldn't forget, because that's another thing that, especially for me, but I know for a lot of people, like somebody asks you to do something or just mention something, and if you have the time, or especially if you were asked to do something, like you got to remember to do that thing as soon as possible, you know, or put it on a list or do whatever you have to do to keep it in the back of your mind, because if you can't do it right in that moment, that's okay. But for me, like, especially with all the things juggling around constantly, it's like there's always something to do. We've talked about that on the show before. So when you mentioned that, I was like, well, that's something we use every day. That's really important for our production equipment. If we wanted to have a podcast, we couldn't have a podcast. Let me just go take care of that.
We could, but I'd be handheld on the mic.
Yeah. Then you could drop the mic for sound effects.
That's right.
I mean, you wouldn't want to because these are beautiful.
All right, so we're going to have to wrap this soon because Joey's got a golf outing here. So in the last 5 minutes, I'd like to wrap this in such a way that we can kind of put a bow on it, okay?
Perfect.
So we want to say I'm sorry, but we need to be sincere. And this is something I've had to coach all of our frontline people, which is all of us, I guess. But when you're answering the phone, etc., I feel very strongly about not saying I'm sorry when I'm not really sorry. Don't say it if you don't believe it, don't say it. Period. So something would happen and it wouldn't be, let's say that the studio hadn't done something, but we were getting blamed for something or a client was unhappy or whatever. The default would be to say I'm sorry. And Shay might want to like mention, like I'll use Shay as an example. Early on in her career working with us, she'd want to say I'm sorry, but
yes, oh my gosh,
you can't say I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, but doesn't count because I'm sorry, but means I'm not really sorry.
Yes,
you're wrong. I'm gonna pretend to say I'm sorry and then tell you how you're wrong.
I used to do that all the time, but it drives me insane when other people do it to me.
Totally. And I used to do it all the time too.
It's such a double-edged sword because it's like when you're doing it, you feel like, oh, great. Cool.
This is the hardest thing to get over, and it's the thing that I know all of us still struggle with, myself included. It's something where it goes back to wanting to be right.
Yeah.
So don't say I'm sorry if you don't mean it. Instead, try to get to truth. And if you want to apologize, because sometimes you do, you have to find how it's your fault and then apologize for the part that's your fault. And don't apologize to try to get an apology back. That's the other thing I've been guilty of so many times over that I have to get better at, which is saying I'm sorry sincerely for the thing I did wrong. And then saying, do you have anything to say?
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
You're just hurting yourself in that one.
Right.
And especially, like, I imagine it's hard for you because, like, I know just for you building me up, like, there's been plenty of times where I did that to you. And part of it comes from you're much further along when it comes to personal development.
Dude, it was so hard. It is so hard, continually so hard, because I have a superpower.
Yeah.
I have a listening superpower, and it's something that I've been trying to teach the world, and my superpower can be used for good or for bad. Mm-hmm. And I want to help the team that's around me, closest to me, to learn the superpower. That's why I've been grinding with you guys day in and day out on listening and getting better in this way, because we need to then empower the world with this superpower. Because when we listen at the super high level, we can impact the world in such an amazing way because people don't listen, not really.
Yo, I always wanted to be a superhero.
You are now.
Yes! Let's go.
You are a superhero, and you have to acknowledge that. You have to understand the enormous responsibility behind being a superhero, though.
Yeah.
Every superhero that you care about has some sort of a story that is not great.
I can't make the Shazam mistake. I can't just be like, boom, boom, fire power.
But think about that.
Yeah.
All of these superheroes have some sort of a tragic beginning.
Oh, so true.
Do you know what I'm saying?
True. Yeah.
So it's not so great to be a superhero. No. It's pretty hard. And go.
I was just gonna say, and like they have to go out and help other people, even when they don't want to. Sometimes,
even when the people don't know that need their help, and even when they're not grateful afterward, which is most of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time, the superhero does the thing, saves the people, and the people revolt against the superhero.
So true. So true.
And that's what I've mentioned many times is that as I've built you guys up, it's become so much easier for me, because for the longest time I would be helping and then I would get ridiculed, and I'd be helping and I'd get ridiculed, and I'd be helping and I'd get ridiculed because you didn't know what you didn't know.
Yeah.
And then some other people were the same way, and so it was a lot to carry. And now my load has gotten so much lighter because the better you get at this thing, now I'm not carrying your load anymore, but you're not only not adding to my baggage, but you're taking you're helping me with the next guy down.
I'm taking a loaf of bread from your bag.
And therefore I have room for more people.
Yeah.
That's what's really nice.
That's super cool.
So I promised we were going to wrap this, so we have to.
It's such a good show, though.
I know. I just want to talk forever. Because this topic is so important. So you have to apologize with sincerity. You have to mean it. If you don't mean it, don't say it. Don't apologize to gain forgiveness. Ask for forgiveness. Be humble enough to say, if you're willing to forgive me, man, that would mean the world to me. But don't do it to get something. Do it to give repair to a relationship. Think about restitution. Think about, do I really owe something to make this right? Because you might. You might owe something to make it right. And that's okay too. You've got to be sincerely humble. You have to lower yourself down to say, I'm sorry. But what's the interesting thing is when you lower yourself down and sincerely say, I'm sorry, acknowledging whatever the thing, it could be a tiny mistake, it doesn't matter. Acknowledge it, that you had something there. And once you do, then you've gifted the other person with knowing what's going on, and then now they get the chance to release whatever baggage they have going on their side. If you're not sincere and you just say I'm sorry on a whim, it won't land, it won't be worth anything, and it's a complete waste. You haven't actually helped this situation at all. So say I'm sorry, mean it, and know that that is power. That is powerful. You want to be powerful. You want to be the greatest among these, then humble yourself down to be the least among these. Humble yourself down to say I'm sorry, to admit when you're wrong, and then be specific about how you're going to make it right. Okay, thanks so much for watching. This has been Mornings with Matt. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. It means a whole lot to us. Thank you, and God bless.
Thanks for listening to Mornings with Matt. Please like, subscribe, and follow us at Deering Acting Studio to keep up with the latest content. For more information on classes, private lessons, or professional development coaching, visit www.deeringstudio.com. Have a Deering day, everyone.